walls came down and your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name. You break every chain, oh Lord. 'Cause you are above every name, Jesus. Oh, you set me free.
All right, welcome to UCAN Studios. I am your host, Isaac Walsh, and this is a spiritual warfare unit. I'm here with Brianna Thompson. Say good morning.
Good morning.
Before we get to her, if you have not gone to spiritualwarfareunit.com and you know someone's struggling, please click on struggling. We have over 20 different community partners that you can go on there, click and get help with food or clothes or baby formula or health care or jobs or all kinds of stuff. And if you're doing good, we all know somebody who is struggling, so help us help them by helping you. All right, how are we doing this morning?
Fabulous. Absolutely wonderful.
All right. Absolutely wonderful. That's a good start. So you are from a group called Beauty for Ashes. And how did you come up with that name?
So that comes from Isaiah 61 in verse 3, where it talks about there is no more mourning, but we bring a crown of beauty instead of ashes.
Bring a crown of beauty instead of ashes. All right. That's cool. I was wondering.
Yeah.
And what is it, like a quick overview? What is it that you guys do, Beauty for Ashes?
Yeah, so Beauty for Ashes ministers to women who are survivors of human trafficking, prostitution, and addiction. Our goal is to share the love of Jesus with them through a couple different points in our ministry, and I'm sure we're going to get into those later.
Yes.
But it's survivors and victims of human trafficking.
That's amazing. Yes, I want to know every detail of how you got into it. But before we get into how you got into it, we got to figure out where you came from.
Sure.
So where were you born and grow up at?
I was born in Howell, but grew up in a very little small town called Byron.
Oh, I know Byron.
Yeah, it's a little small town.
That's like a farm town, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Lots to do.
Oh, yeah.
And by lots, I mean nothing, right?
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
That's like the Children of the Corn area, right? Yeah. Okay. And like elementary, you went in there?
Yep, I went to school there for K to 12 my whole life and graduated with like 60 some kids.
Wow.
So
in your class?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Mom and dad, brothers and sisters, like?
Yeah, I've got 4 sisters. Yeah, just girls, just all of us girls.
How many bedrooms in that house?
Oh gosh. There would have been 4 bedrooms in the house.
How many bathrooms?
1.
So the fights were there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what's the age difference? Like, where did you fit in that for?
I was the second oldest.
Oh, so you were like the problem solver. We can get along person.
Well, I got to see my sister make certain choices.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to make those same choices, I knew how to hide it better.
Wow. So you learned from her failures.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, and as far as your relationship with the younger and older sisters, how did that?
When you don't have any brothers, people think that girls must be easier, but there's a different level of drama.
No kidding.
Yeah, just
really?
a different level, But
so weird.
Yeah, now, I mean, there was always bickering, arguing growing up, but now we are like best friends, which is so fun.
Really? What's a year different from the youngest to oldest?
My youngest sister is 11, and my oldest sister is 29 this year.
Right now?
Yeah.
11 to 29?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Our baby sister, she was kind of like oh my gosh.
That happened. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I was picking that up as you were putting that down, actually.
When my mom found out she was pregnant, my youngest sister at the time was 8 years old. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's some good news.
Big gap.
Yeah, absolute good news. All right.
Yeah.
So what did your dad do for like a living or whatever?
Yeah, my dad did a lot of construction, excavating, and then he did some roofing jobs for a little while, and then he got involved into waste management and has just worked his way up, and now he's a plant manager in Sandusky and the Thumb.
Wow.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
That's awesome. And your mom, she stayed at home? Or
She worked for a company called ServeU. She did restocking of shelves at Meijer. And then she stayed at home with us, especially when she found out she got pregnant with the youngest.
Yeah.
But, you know, my dad, he actually isn't my biological father.
Oh.
He stepped into the picture when I was about 2 years old and has never treated myself or my older sister any different.
No kidding.
It's been, when I say my dad, that's who I'm talking about.
No, I got it. There's a difference between father and dad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I got you. Okay, so you're growing up. Was there any like major things that happened in high school that helped like form your personality to what it is now?
Man, that's a good question. So I didn't come to know the Lord until I was about 15. My lifestyle growing up was a lot of going to different churches. Mom's side was Catholic, dad's side was Baptist. So trying to find something in the in-between. We went
a tweener between a Baptist and what is that? That'd be like Presbyterian.
Yeah, well, we tried Lutheran, we tried Methodist, and we just never really got our roots in anywhere.
Yeah.
And our lifestyle growing up, my dad, he drank a lot. Now he knows the Lord and loves the Lord so fully, and it's an amazing, beautiful picture. But when I was about 15, my uncle was like, hey, I just heard of this church doing this youth camp, and I'd love for you to go. I'll pay for you to go for your birthday. Happy birthday. And I was like, I don't really know.
Go to a camp I didn't ask for my birthday. Winning.
Yeah. And so I struggled a lot growing up. My first drink of alcohol, I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And when my family would be happy, they'd celebrate and drink. When they'd be sad, they'd mourn and drink.
Right.
And so that's just kind of all I knew. And so when kids talk about now, like they're party kids, they go out and do stuff. I was like the closet drinker at the age of.
Oh, I gotcha.
Like
so were you like a cool kid? Were you like a sports person? Were you like, did you do like grades? Were you like, what was your
so that's kind
personality
of the kicker is I was really good at hiding things. I was,
Okay.
So I played soccer for 14 years. I had pretty great grades. And then when I came to know the Lord, I had said, you know what? I was a few months into it and I was like, this is really hard.
Yeah.
Because what I was looking at is all the things I had to do and not the relationship that I was blessed to have.
So your first experiences, I think, is like all Christians get really overwhelmed as they want to look good.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Exactly.
So I'm going to pretend because I want this. And then they set up that mirage.
Yeah.
And it's not real. And eventually that crumbles, right? And you knew that like early.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that at the time I didn't feel super blessed about, but now I understand that God gave me a lot of experience at a really young age. So fast forward, I turned 16, and I actually, this was about the time I was kind of sick of walking the walk because I didn't understand it, and I snuck out. Went to hang out with some guy.
And how old were you, 15?
I was 16. Freshly 16.
Freshly
Freshly
minted.
A few days in, just got my license and snuck out with some guy, went and used.
Hold on. Before you get into this, we already have to go to our first break. I want to hear this story.
Yeah.
If this is your first time, please like, share, and subscribe. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program. All right, welcome back to UCAN Studios. I am your host, Isaac Walsh, and I am here with Brianna Thompson from Beauty for Ashes. And she was just getting in her story, which is about to hit the wild spot. So you freshly minted 16.
Yes, yeah.
Christian, but 16-year-old girls. Woo!
Yeah,
and
wild. Yeah.
What happened?
So I ended up sneaking out one night to go meet up with this guy because I said, you know what, this is too hard for me. I don't know if I want this for my life.
Yeah.
And went out, started using with him, and the first few times where he's like, hey, do you want to take a hit? I said no, and I'm like, I'm a really good Christian because I'm saying
yeah, look at me. I said no. In the environment I put myself
Exactly. I chose it. And so fast forward a few hours later, I ended up saying yes, and choices happen that shouldn't have. And he dropped me off on the side of the road.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it was great. It was a ice storm that we had in April a few years ago, and walked back to the house and slept late. I didn't get back until like 4 o'clock in the morning, and had to get up for a competition I had at school the next morning. Woke up late, jumped in my truck, and was going 55, not realizing how icy the roads were, and hit a cement culvert going 55 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was a moment where, and this is just.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Questions.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, I'll pause.
55.
Yeah.
Culvert. What, and how did you total a truck?
So this is where God was like, I have you.
Yeah.
I'm going to smack your hand and say, what are you thinking? But I have you.
So what happened?
I hit the culvert. The topper on the back of the truck went flying across the person's yard, of course.
Wow.
And I was fine.
What?
I had a concussion that took me out of school for a couple months, brain injury, but...
Wait a minute. Hold on. Brain injury.
Yeah.
What kind of brain?
So,
Like what?
it was a concussion that they said, you've got to sit in a dark room, no devices.
Light sensitivity.
No nothing. Yeah, you've just got to do nothing for a few weeks.
Being in public sucks because all the sound.
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so during that, and this is kind of a pivotal moment because I thought I was going to go to college, be a soccer star. I wanted to go into pediatric oncology and had all these dreams for myself, was already talking to colleges, and I was only a sophomore.
Yeah.
And so at the end of my sophomore year, I missed it and was kind of homeschooling myself. Ended up having to give up a lot of my honors classes that I was taking.
Oh, no.
When I went into my junior year, my brain did not function the way it used to. They would do different tests on me to see what was going on. And it all just factored back to this accident I was in.
No
and
way.
so I was never allowed to play soccer again. I actually had to drop all my honors classes because I redid this math class I did and actually got a D the first semester and failed the second semester.
No.
Even though I had done it all before.
Yeah, so you had to be so stressed and depressed, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But then I realized that I was so focused on my own idol. I was focused on what I wanted, not what the Lord wanted for me.
And you're how old at this time?
16.
It's weird at 16 you had that cognitive ability. I know people that are 70 that
It was the Holy Spirit.
So, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So at 16, you get a brain injury, and what was the effects? Like obviously cognitive recalculation as far as being able to pull into memory issues, light sensitivities, being in public, like movement and sound.
Exactly.
Has that gone away, or do you?
So this is the crazy part. So this is the pivotal moment of I kept going to all these different neurologists, these doctors. And so had MRI, sleep studies, all these things. And they ended up finding something called a pineal cyst. And so I actually
Was it your human growth hormone output?
No, it's so they don't know a whole lot about the pineal gland.
Right.
It's close to the pituitary gland, but they don't know a whole lot. There's like thousands of hormones with it.
Yeah, and that's the pine cone one, right?
I think so.
Oh, I got so much stuff to tell you off the air. We can't do that. All right. That's insane. So how long did that last?
Yeah. So at the time when the MD saw it, they're like, no big deal. People have it all the time.
Yeah.
So fast forward, that would be like 7 years later.
Okay.
I was just continuing to have cognitive issues, not being able to remember names of even family members.
All right, hold on. Stop. There's too much information. There's too much time.
Okay.
How, when you graduate high school?
Yes.
Did you homeschool the rest of the time?
No. So I did graduate from Byron.
So all the college stuff was gone?
Yeah. So
man.
Yeah. That was a huge thing where I was like, okay, God, I really wanted to go to college, but I don't think you want me to. Yeah. And so I nannied for a little bit after high school.
Wait, nannied?
Yeah. I worked with kids.
A brain injury? Is that like setting yourself up to fail right there?
Well, you know what? I love these kiddos. I'd known them for a while
you do,
already,
but like sound sensitivity is like the thing. It's like, for a job, I'm sound sensitive, but I'm going to an environment where people scream. All right, I love your passion on that. All right, so you nannied, and then so you were 18 2018?
Yeah.
So
yep.
what year was this?
This would have been 2016, 2017.
Okay, so you're nannying. All right, what happens
Yeah.
next? Because
So-
you're still going to doctors during all this time.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So getting follow-ups, all that fun stuff. And then in 2017 or 2018, I started working at an eye care office. So it had just opened up in Linden, and I was their first employee. And
Cool.
it was
Hey,
great.
there you go.
And so I learned a lot. I was there for about a year, maybe a little bit over. And then I had an opportunity to become an x-ray tech at a chiropractor's office.
Okay.
And so you don't need any schooling or anything for that. You just train under the doctor. Both businesses are Christian owned. And so I was able to talk about my faith and share Christ with others while I was there. And but I knew that wasn't where I was supposed to be. You know, I knew, okay, for right now, I'm content with where God has me, but I knew He had so much more in store for me.
And why did you know that? Like, that's the part that's like got me curious. How did you know that you knew, right?
So, so in 2017, I had done outreach with Ernesto in Flint, Pastor Ernesto.
It was amazing.
Yeah, he is incredible. He was getting ready. I want to say it was 2017. He was getting ready to start Flint City Church, and I had done this revival with them. It was the first time I'd really been in the city. I grew up in a small town.
Yeah,
so
Byron is in the sticks, man.
Yeah, so I didn't know anything about diversity. I didn't know anything about a city, but I knew I needed to go to Flint and be a part of this.
Okay.
And the one day I was there, I met a girl who was a heroin addict and being trafficked. And
at his church.
well, it was during the revival.
I got you. Just walking.
Just walking in.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment I knew that I was called to women's ministry.
All right, hold on. You can't just say that like it was like I got a coffee. Like what? Like you saw her and what happened?
You know, her and I it was really crazy because throughout the entire event, when there was preaching and baptism and everything, she was just like linked onto me the whole time, which was.
Why do you think that was? Like,
the
did
Holy
you do
Spirit?
it or she just came to you?
She just came. And,
okay.
And so she just had so many questions and was so curious about the Lord. And so
And you just attached to that?
Yeah, I just was trying to follow what the Holy Spirit was doing.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is what gets me there. That feeling here you don't tell anybody about, that was at the moment?
That's exactly what it was.
See, that's why we had to stop, because I had a very similar thing when it comes to this stuff about helping you guys.
Yeah.
But before we get into the next section, we still have to go to our next break. So this is your first time or you're an old friend, please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate your help. You sit tight, and we will be back with the rest of the story in 1 minute.
Hey, it's Aaron with UCAN. We're out here at our third annual golf outing here in the Genesee Valley Meadows. So, really good day. We have a great number of teams, great sponsorship, great people. We're hoping for a great time. The weather's good. So, we appreciate all the support we get at all of our events. It helps us fight the fight that we fight. So, thank you all. Stay the course.
A lot of fun with a good cause. This is a very good cause, and I enjoy doing it. And my sons are with me today, and we're just going to have fun. We know we're not going to win, but we're going to have fun.
Oh, today is an awesome day today. This is our fourth or fifth one here, and can't thank UCAN enough for what they do, especially on this situation where they have this outing. Mark and Debbie and all of them. It's just an amazing outing, and I couldn't think of it brings back memories, but it's a wonderful thing, and we really appreciate it.
All right, welcome back to Spiritual Warfare Unit. Our warrior of the week is Brianna Thompson from Beauty for Ashes, and she was just getting into how she got her passion. So you go to revival, at Ernesto's church, and a lady that is addicted to heroin and in human trafficking comes in the church, and you are attached to that lady.
Yeah. And so what's crazy is, if I'm just being honest, I wasn't a fan of women because I grew up with 4 sisters, right?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, nah, not for me. But then when God called me to women's ministry, I was like, are you serious? Are you sure?
Well, you did have the experience, right?
Right. And so, so I didn't know at this time that.
Wait, back up. So you would, just before the break, you had said she had just sucked to you and you didn't know why you were attached to her. And then what ended up happening?
So her and I, we were able to pray together. She came to know the Lord during that time, which was incredible.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. Her and I never, we texted back and forth a little bit, and then we got totally disconnected.
So at this time you realized there's an issue with women with drug addiction and human trafficking. That was your, okay. So what?
Right about this time is when Beauty for Ashes was being founded by Dana Oliver.
Okay.
And so I was kind of helping here and there. But being a new believer at that time, excuse me, I had said yes to everything.
Yeah,
and
which will wear you out, right?
Yeah. So when I said yes to just about everything, I did step away from Beauty for Ashes for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was helping with making presentations and just educating the community, but I had to step away for a little while. And so I always knew, though, that there was something about Flint. I always knew that there was something about, I thought it was mission work, foreign mission field.
Yeah.
So I had been to Haiti a few times.
Yeah.
I went to Cuba, all these different things. And then God was
you can't just skip over those. What was Haiti like?
Haiti was awesome. The first time I went.
What were you there for?
I was with Mission of Hope. It was just a week-long trip that.
Were you there making churches or doing what? What was the purpose?
We did a lot of, we painted some buildings.
Is this post the storms or something?
This would have been, yeah.
Okay.
And so I had gone down with our youth group, and then I had gone to the Rock Church in Fenton. And so we had gone down there for about a week, and then one of the families in the church had moved down there and had moved right into a village. Okay. And get this. Those are my in-laws now.
Shut up. Did you meet them there?
No. So I had known of them. And this is kind of when I first came to know the Lord, I met my to-be future husband. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's great. But I was boy crazy, right? I was 15, 16 years old and dated another individual for a few years. Yeah. And ended up making my way back to my husband. But during that time, before I made my way back to him, I stayed in Haiti for a summer with his family. And so I was with all of his sisters, and I was there for about a month, I want to say.
Well, before we get into that, tell us about, what was the other place, Cuba?
All right,
tell us about Cuba. What was Cuba like? What were you there for?
I was there for, again, about just a little bit over a week with our young adult group. That was right before I got married in 2019, I believe. And we were working with a local church with their young adults, trying to just encourage them to continue doing what they're doing, just because the government oppression is so heavy there.
Wow.
And so we just tried to build relationships the best that we could. And even today, I still chat back and forth with some of the individuals from
All right,
Cuba.
so you do that, but that's not your passion.
Yeah.
So what was the deciding, okay, this is what was it?
Yeah. So
there's always a moment, right?
So after I had gotten married, that was in 2020.
Good year.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. That was an interesting wedding.
Yeah. Right. I was just thinking.
I mean, we still had over 300 people there, and it was great. So we just made it work. But we'll say.
Yeah. I didn't want those details.
Yeah. So
anyways.
Yeah. So we after we got married, I had actually quit my job at the chiropractor's office, and I was like, Brendan, I know that I need to reach out to Dana. I need to talk to her about Beauty for Ashes. It was just this heavy burden on my heart, and so I reached out to her, and when I got and sat down with her, she said, so here's the deal. I've been thinking about actually phasing out the ministry. And I was like, hold on. I know that God called me here.
Wow.
And Dana was like, well, COVID had made things really hard. And just she was doing so much by herself and she was carrying this heavy burden. And I was like, well, hold on. I know that I'm supposed to be here. And so we continued to do street outreach, which is a part of the ministry. And
well, explain that real quick.
yeah, so street ministry, I should back up a little bit to give a little bit more of a foundation.
Yeah.
So Beauty for Ashes had started, was stirred up in Dana's heart in 2012, human trafficking.
Yeah.
She knew God was calling her to do something with that, and she didn't know. So she spent several years researching, looking and seeing, and Beauty for Ashes came to be in 2015.
Okay.
And so that looked more like reaching out, going to different motels and hotels, making relationships with the managers there, saying, hey, here's some photos of girls who are missing in our area. Do you recognize any of
gotcha.
them? And so
is that something that people can go onto your website and find? Like, is there like a list of people that they're looking for there, or is that something they have to show up in person for?
I would have to do a little bit of research and get them an updated sheet, just because it's constantly changing. We would have to.
Yeah, because I mean, if we could find a way to get these people's faces out there so someone sees it or something.
Yeah,
So the first part of show that we did, we were getting your background on why you're doing it, and you ended up being in a car accident in 16, had a brain injury, stopped your chances of college and things of that nature, and it put you into a path of what God wanted to do for you. Yeah. Cut story short, you ended up meeting a heroin sex trafficked lady in Flint, which put you on a path for Beauty for Ashes that does that thing with Dana. And you were just getting into how all this was happening. It was about 2019.
Yeah.
And you had met these people, and you're getting ready to do this, and what kind of happens after that?
Yeah. So when I came back, Dana, I had mentioned, she was saying how she was going to phase out the ministry. And so at this point, Beauty for Ashes had shifted a little bit. So in 2017, we became a 501c3 nonprofit. 2019 is when the first Women's Empowerment Center opened. And so at this point, she was doing Women's Empowerment Center and street ministry. And I'll explain.
So it was overwhelming.
It was a lot.
What's an empowerment center?
Yeah, so the Empowerment Center is it's a drop-in center. So it's very different than a lot of other places in the city where it's not necessarily a place where they can stay overnight, but it's a place that they can come to, feel safe, feel loved, feel like it's their home too. We don't ever want it to feel like they're coming into just another organization. We want it to feel like it's their house. And so
how do you do that? I mean, how does that happen?
The Holy Spirit.
I didn't know like the environment was set up in such a way. Like, people come in and they give their faith all the time, but that doesn't make people feel comfortable. So like, especially for that group of people, like what is it that you guys provide that makes it so safe?
I do want to explain that. But so in 2020, that was about the time when Dana was going to phase things out. And so I want to explain the Empowerment Center a little bit, but this is kind of an important turning point where she had said, okay, well, we've discussed doing this, but let's continue to do some street ministry. And so we believe that Jesus meets us at right where we're at in our mess, right? And so we believe we're called to do the same thing. So for street ministry, we go out and we meet the women where they're at. They are either actively they're prostituting or they're being trafficked. And so we will meet them on the side of the road. We'll drive up to them. We hand them a purse full of hygiene products and a lunch that has also been donated.
So let me get this right. You will literally go to the street corner that they're selling themselves for sex and give them something.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What is the responses to that?
There's different responses. There are ones who the girls know who we are, so they're like, oh my gosh, it's the church ladies. So they're excited. Then there are some who will just put their hand up and say, no, thank you. Maybe not quite as kind. But, but the whole point of it is that when we're there, it's not just to give them something, because there's enough handouts in the city, right? There's enough free stuff. Our goal is to make sure that we speak truth and love to them. We're not standing there saying, hey, you're going to go to hell by standing on this corner. But it's saying, hey, we see you. We love you. You have a Father who sees you and loves you too. And then we pray with them if they allow us to. And then we invite them back to the Empowerment Center.
I got you. So it's like, if you choose help, we're here.
Yeah, it's just saying, hey, we're here meeting you where you're at. If you need something more, we're always here.
Yeah, it's weird. Not telling people how horrible they are isn't the right response.
Right.
It's weird how that works.
Right,
All right.
exactly.
So we got the street, we got the empowerment zone, 2020, married. What happens after 2020?
So Dana had said, well, we had gone out and we were like, gosh, we're not really seeing anybody. It's 2020. We were surprised that they were more scared of COVID than other things. And we were like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
And because of this, we had a lot of leftover lunches. So we went to go donate some to a local ministry that we had worked with. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so-and-so on the corner over there. Oh, there's so-and-so there. And so I came back to the center and I said, Dana, we're just going out at the wrong time. We need to try something a little different.
Wow.
And she said, great, you can oversee street outreach.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, which it wasn't a huge task. It's just making sure the schedules are done, making sure we have all the supplies. And so that was kind of like my initiation, was becoming the street outreach coordinator. And so fast forward, we ended up moving our locations to the Carriagetown district. Now get this. Do you remember that girl I was telling you about that I met at the revival?
Yep.
It was directly across the street from our empowerment center where I met her. Was the first time I stepped into the role as the executive director.
That's got to be real.
Full circle, right?
Yeah.
So we just moved one more time to our other location, but I would be able to look out our front windows, beautiful windows, and remember the moment that I first met her in the parking lot across the street.
That's really interesting, because that's actually super interesting, because the Carriagetown different was that Fifth and Garland.
We were at 4th and Garland,
Yeah.
where ours was. Yeah.
Yeah, is that where you're at now?
No. So now we keep our location very
Private?
very private for the safety of our ladies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we used to be, and man, it was.
Because our radio
awesome.
station now we do on 92.1 FM WFOV is on 4th and Garland.
Oh, fabulous! No way.
Right around the corner. Yeah,
That's
that's
amazing.
crazy. Anyway, we'll get back to that. So 2020 happens. You're doing this. You get in charge of this, and what happens next? You know, so you're doing this so you found the different locations that they were going to.
Yeah.
And
So we actually partnered up with Flint City Church, and that building at 4th and Garland was their ministry office. And so they were using it Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Right.
and we needed it Mondays and Wednesdays.
Nice.
And so it worked out really beautifully that the Empowerment Center was open to the ladies.
Yeah.
Now, to give a little bit more of what the Empowerment Center was, at the time we were only open 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And so Mondays we would do something called Recovery Bible Study.
Yeah.
So we would have different classes available, but when the ladies come into the center, our volunteers have already been there for about an hour, preparing a place for them, making sure that they know that we've been waiting for them, we're ready to spend time with them.
And how many ladies are you having on an average, I guess?
So it varies.
I don't think people understand.
Yeah, it varies. So being a drop-in center, you could have literally no one an entire day, and then you can have up to like 20-some people.
20 hold on. You could have up to 20-some people in that area that are doing sex trafficking.
So it's
Keep
in mind, it's sex trafficking, it is prostitution, it is also addiction.
Right.
Because all of those things
gotcha.
typically play hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so when we're at the Empowerment Center, though, so we have that Recovery Bible Study on Mondays, then there's some downtime. And this is an important part of being the drop-in center, is that maybe they need to get a job. Maybe they need to build a resume. Maybe they need assistance with food. During this downtime is when we get to walk through life together. Because there are things that we have to do on a daily basis that are hard, but it's easier when you have somebody next to you holding your hand to walk through life together, just like Jesus calls us.
Just like Jesus.
Right?
With that, we're going to go to break. Our first break. Sit tight. We will be right back.
I'm really impressed with the teachings that Isaac has been bringing to us, as this is all based from Proverbs.
I like it because it's simple, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very easy to understand and apply to your life.
It points out, my bad parts, and but it's showing me how to do the good parts, and I'm trying to apply that and make a better life for myself, because I'm tired of where I've been.
It's impacted a lot of the guys as they continue to talk and ask questions after the meetings, as they speak to one another regarding the meeting and the messages. and the topics that are being brought up, which are down-to-earth topics of situations and things that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
He takes the Bible and he breaks it down into simple terms and where you can understand. And like I said before, sometimes a lot of churches, even the Salvation Army, sometimes we start using these big words that people don't understand, like even saying someone got saved. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say someone got saved? And it's accepting Jesus into your heart. So it's like words like that we use that people don't understand.
It's just very interesting how he points out, the different things of, the sin part, and then he comes back with the, how to make it better, and he just points it out. It's there. I didn't know all this stuff was in there, but now that he's pointing it out, it's like, wow, I guess if you really dig into the Bible, you find these things.
This is a daily moral standards that we can live by, that the teachings are coming from. And honestly, we can take verse by verse as what he's done, and pretty much he's done the hard work for us and now laying it out so that we have an easier understanding.
There's some people who don't like to be in Bible classes, but this one seems to get their attention.
All right, welcome back to Spiritual Warfare Unit UCAN Studios. I'm here with Brianna Thompson from Beauty for Ashes, and she was just getting. Now, were you, when you did the street ministry, or was there like what was your title at that time?
I was a volunteer. So,
okay.
I to make it simple, I would say street outreach coordinator.
Okay.
But a volunteer at that time.
You're doing, and how long did you do that?
I did that for, just over a year, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end of 2021 is when I became the executive director.
All right. So before we get into that, one of the questions I want to ask is if you had to wager, take a guess, like an educated guess, on how many women during that 1 year time that you think you saw, what do you think that number is? Because I don't think people appreciate how big a thing this is.
Yeah. So that's so hard because...
like hundreds... thousands?
So I can give you the number for 2022. I can give you that. It would have been a little bit less. We saw about 1,900 women in 2022.
1,900 women that went through drug addiction, sex trafficking. What was the other one?
Or prostitution. Sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sexual exploitation. Mm-hmm. In 365 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
And that's where so many people think that it's just overseas.
Yeah.
And it's happening right in our backyard. And so when we talk about human trafficking, we're not talking, hey, they're being shipped across seas. Sure, that is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
But what we're looking at is we have a girl here who got introduced to pain pills at a young age, right? Mm-hmm. She's got back pain. And so it has escalated. And this boyfriend says, hey, if you crush them up and snort them, it works so much better. Hey, if we actually put it in a needle, it works even more. And so she starts doing all these things, and she's got kids at the time. But here's this addiction that's being fed, right? Mm-hmm. And so fast forward, she loses her kids because she's spending all of her money. She loses her house. She's spending all of her money on that. And now she's walking down the street and somebody pulls up to her and says, hey, honey, you're beautiful. Mm-hmm. Hey, honey, you need your next fix? I've got you. Oh, you need a place to lay your head? I've got you. And he comes up and he kind of wins her heart over, right?
A friend.
Yeah. And so then he says, okay, but honey, here's the thing. If you just sleep with so-and-so, he's just my friend, just this one time, we'll get our fix, okay? We'll get our fix so we can get this next high, right? And this is just one of many stories that we've heard. If you just sleep with him this one time, and then that right there is trafficking. Yeah. She is being sold for a drug. It doesn't just have to be cash.
Yeah, goods and services.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're feeding that economic need that these ladies are searching for. And when you don't know real love, you'll take it from anything, right? Right. And so
when you're starving for something, every bitter thing is sweet.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. And so that's really what the environment is that we're looking at. And it starts from such a small thing, and it spirals and snowballs into something so much bigger.
And I love that answer because people are like, how does that happen? Well, here's a really good example of how that happens, right? Yeah. And it starts with something. And this is the thing about sin. It gives you the bust up front, and then just catches you, and you're stuck, right?
Exactly.
And it's amazing that you guys do this, and it's amazing that it's that big a problem in our city.
Right.
And I'm really glad that you guys do this. So sorry to expand on that point a little bit, but so you were 2021 to 2022, you were doing this, and out of those, like, there's got to be some really great success stories in there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So one story specifically, and she actually spoke at our this survivor. She spoke at our fundraiser this year in 2023, and so in 20, I guess, right in the 2021, 2022 range, we were out doing street ministry, and we took a way home that we never take home to the empowerment center, and we're looking around, and we had just ran out of lunches. We didn't have anything left, and we see this girl, and she's swinging on one of those bus station poles, and we're like, oh, she looks like she might be intoxicated or something. So we just pulled over, and we're like, hey, honey, do you need anything? And we broke one of our big rules that we say we will never do. She said, hey, I need a ride. And we were like, we don't give rides unless it's to rehab or to the hospital or a safe house. And so she's like, I just need to go to my son's house. And so we just knew the Holy Spirit was saying, you need to do this.
Okay.
So we picked her up, took her, and we dropped her off, okay? So fast forward a couple months, we heard she had passed away. Somebody said she had died.
Wow.
And we were like, wow, that is just so awful. We didn't get to know her anymore, and that was kind of it. A month or two later, all of a sudden, we're at our empowerment center, and we actually partner with New Paths, and they bring their ladies over to the center twice a week, and because we are open 3 days a week now, and so they come over on Wednesdays and Fridays, and lo and behold, she walks through the door, and I'm like, gosh.
You're not dead.
Right. I was like, I know who this is, but I can't figure out how. And so we're talking, and all of a sudden tears are flowing because we realize what God has done. And so we didn't know, though, that night she had been brutally raped. She had been drugged, and she was swinging on that pole getting ready to jump in front of the next bus that was coming by.
Shut up.
No idea. And so and still at this point, when we met her at the center, we didn't know this. We just knew that she had gone into rehab, and she had gone into rehab that same week that we had picked her up. And so we had no idea, right?
Right.
And so fast forward about 16 months, she swings by the center. She looks amazing. And she says to us, hey, I'm on my way to go get my FAFSA figured out. I'm getting ready to go back to school. And this was also the same day that we had to make a decision on who our next survivor was going to be talking at our
and it literally walked in the door.
Literally walked in the door. Isn't it awesome how God does that?
Yeah, it's weird.
But, her whole story, you couldn't make it up.
Yeah, it's too crazy.
It's too crazy. The Lord, and I spared some of the details because it can get pretty graphic, but the fact that God had her ready right there for us. Along the way, she had been working, and she knows the Lord too. And so it's just been this beautiful picture of her life and being able to change other lives with her story now.
Man, that's great. And so this was during that time period between 2020 and 2022?
Yeah.
Man, I got to imagine this job is both rewarding and super frustrating and wonderful and terrible. Like, it's all the emotional things, right?
Yeah, it is.
Man.
Yeah, it is.
I applaud you for that. Because it's like, if people see, so like, what's your website again? Is it Beauty for Ashes, MI?
Yes, beautyforashesmi.org.
So people want to check this out, and if they're interested, they can donate or they can volunteer.
Yep. There's actually a volunteer application right under our Get Involved tab.
Okay.
So they can look on there, and then there is a donate page with different supplies and financial contributions that are available.
All right, and so like how many volunteers do you have working for you doing the street thingy? Like, what's the number?
So between the Empowerment Center and street ministry, I would say between 20 and 30.
Wow.
Now, it sounds like a lot, but because, like you said, this is a heavy ministry, I never want anybody to feel burnt out. And so we have to really take turns. We have to say, hey, if you need a day off today, we've got somebody else that can fill your spot. It's good. Spend time with the Lord. Spend time with your family, whatever you need. Because we know it can be heavy. It is.
The emotional stress getting into that, I would imagine, is extremely difficult, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we are always looking for volunteers. That's something that I think most nonprofits would say.
Right. Well, with that, we got to go to our second break.
All right.
Like, share, and subscribe. Sit tight. We'll be right back.
I was an addict for 6 years. I was deeply into heroin and addiction. 2014, a lot of events happened for me. I had lost my sister. My dad was just diagnosed with cancer. I was just kind of in this headspace of being in a mess as it was, and then I was introduced to heroin. I kept it pretty well hidden there in the beginning. A lot of people didn't know that I was using just because I went about my everyday life the same way anybody else would. But what they didn't know behind the scenes is I was using 10 times a day. I'm living out of what I consider a trap house at this point. There's no windows, there's no doors, there's no place to stay warm. I had no other way of making money. I was doing things that weren't okay to me. I started prostituting. I was stealing from my loved ones. I was taking my dad's cancer prescriptions, and I would take them and I would sell them. I couldn't even contact my daughter in December of that year to tell her Merry Christmas or send her gifts. And it just got to a point where I knew, like, I'm either going to get clean or I might as well start planning my own funeral. So for me, it wasn't even just that I needed to stop. My life over the course of 6 years fell apart.
So I met Sarah in 2019. We had a program I was working with law enforcement officers, and I got the call that they had somebody, so there I went to meet Sarah.
Here's just this happy-go-lucky guy just, oh my God, here's treatment. Here's what you can do. You can change your life around. I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, what did I get myself into? Like, maybe sitting in a cell by myself might have been a better idea, because at least I don't have to listen to all this.
Whenever I see somebody who's willing to go to treatment to try and help with their issue, it's something that I don't make that judgment. I always just try and provide the hope, the encouragement, and the motivation to go to treatment, and then hope that it works for them, hope they engage, hope that it's the point of life that they're in, that they're ready to make that change.
It was a huge wake-up call for me when I'm watching all these people that I used to hang out with, including my husband, get clean before I did. And just watching their lives change so drastically and them becoming so much happier. And I just sat there in this endless abyss of a mess that I caused myself, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to stay clean. I didn't know how to live my life without substances because I had done it for so long.
With UCAN and our relationships we can actually get people into multiple treatment facilities. So depending on age, gender, the drug of choice, things of that nature, there's certain facilities that maybe have a little bit more of a success rate with certain populations. So we kind of talk through that and then try and place them where we feel is an optimal place to succeed.
My husband and I finally got a place together, and life has pretty much been good ever since, but like the key role of it for me was staying in contact with people.
We can't go in and drive in and grab somebody and just pull them out like they're drowning. It's a decision they have to make, and it's a commitment they have to make, and then they have to be diligent, determined, dedicated to find sobriety.
So my husband has 2 years clean, and I have 22 months clean. I will have 2 years clean on December 21st of this year. Just last month in October, we went back to court. Everything's officially terminated. She's back home with us for good.
Yeah, so UCAN is that conduit. A lot of times people don't know when to or how to or where to go to start looking for services. So we try and promote UCAN as being the starting point for people to begin the road to navigating recovery.
It is more than possible to change your life around.
So this program that we have allows law enforcement that if they have somebody that they feel could could use the opportunity to try and get treatment instead of incarceration, that they would reach out and we could handle it for them.
Recovery is possible, and there is hope.
All right, welcome back to UCAN Studios. I am your host, Isaac Walsh, and I am here with Brianna Thompson from Beauty for Ashes. And she was just finishing up her story on the volunteers. And, of course, you always need volunteers as a 501c3. And so 2020 to 2022, basically, you were doing this. All is more or less as well. And then what happens?
Okay, so at the end of 2021, Dana, our founder, she had said, hey, so I feel at peace. God has told me I'm good to walk away, just to take some time. Her husband got a new job, and so they were moving. And she said, do you want to be the executive director? And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I said, I am not educated. I do not have the experience.
Right.
And she said, perfect. So,
She said perfect. Yeah, baptism by fire,
exactly,
right? Wow.
Exactly. And so this
Wait, hold on. How long did it take you to make that decision?
Well, my husband and I spent a lot of time praying about it because
Like a week, 2 weeks,
it
a
was
month?
probably about 2 weeks or so, I would say.
Oh, good for you. 'Cause this is like a legacy.
Yeah, it was intimidating. I was like, okay, there is something big happening. I know God is moving in this city, and I can't believe he would even consider me for this.
Yeah,
and so
because you're just a person.
Exactly, and that's exactly
with a
it.
brain injury.
Right, and from a small town with
with no experience in the city. And why would you want me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we just said, you know what? What's the worst that can happen?
Well, it could all burn to the ground into ashes. I mean,
But
there's
you
that.
know what? Even so, even if it wasn't the right fit, God would have worked it out.
Right.
We knew that. And so we felt like it was a go. And so we said yes. And I had about a month of on-the-job training.
Yeah.
And come the beginning of November of 2021, I became the executive director. And 2022 is kind of like my initiation. We had our fundraising event, and Dana introduced me as the new executive director and talked about what her life was going to look like. And it's just been a wild ride since then. And so after our fundraiser in 2022, we were able to open up that third day I had mentioned at the Empowerment Center. And so on our Wednesday, Fridays, we have life skill classes available. Anything from we say Wednesdays are recreated Wednesdays, so we're talking about reigniting passion, introducing things that maybe they didn't know they loved to do, and then Fridays we put it into action. So anything from like resumes, budgeting, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But now 2022 came along, and man, did it come hard.
Yeah. Because you teased me with this, and I haven't heard it yet, and you're killing me. Get to the point. I want to hear this part.
So here's the deal. So we were able to open a third day, and we were also able to hire our first assistant director / development director. She was a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Her name is Brandy Kirkpatrick, and she was fabulous. And so I had been having more issues with just cognitive function, memory, my vision, ringing in my ears, just lots of things. And so I remembered this thing that I was told I had and shouldn't worry about called a pineal cyst.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit more research. And through my research, I found this one doctor who was the most well-known for doing the surgery to remove it.
Yeah.
And he was having crazy success.
Okay.
And I was like, that seems a little dramatic. I don't need brain surgery.
Brain surgery. That's...
Yeah.
So
I talked to my husband about it, and he's like, you know what? Let's just call him, see what they say.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we're traveling down to South Carolina to have an appointment to see if I was a good fit. And so we went down there, and they said,
Wait. You just took the job over as executive director, and then how long was it when you might have to go brain surgery?
It was probably about 8 months or so.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was
All
when
right,
I first
sorry.
had found out.
Okay, keep going.
Right.
So, sorry.
That's all right.
I was freaking out. All right, so
So about-
South Carolina.
Went down to South Carolina, and then it took me about one or two other appointments for them to be like, okay, yep, we're in. The first.
Wait. They're in because how big is the cyst? Like,
So the crazy part is it has nothing to do with the size of the cyst.
what?
It could be like 1 millimeter and cause crazy issues, or it could be 1 centimeter and cause no issues at all.
What?
And so it's like the gland itself turns cystic. It's not a cyst that's attached
Oh, I
to it.
got you. Because I do know the pineal gland controls every single thing in your blood and controls everything.
Yeah, it's
Everything.
crazy. So, so here's the deal. They said, "All right, let's do this." And at the very end of October in 2022, so not even a year into me being in the position, they said, "You know what? We're gonna take
Dude,
it
how
out."
do you break that? I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, you know what? You're gonna have to take over this for a little while. I'm gonna go have brain surgery, and then you had to be freaking.
I was. I totally was. And so our assistant director, she's magnificent. She started in April and then realized, wow, in October she's going to have
Holy
to take
smokes!
over for a couple
In
months.
April she starts, and by the
Yeah.
way, I'm having brain surgery.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
can you come back or?
Right.
Oh
so,
my gosh. Okay, so you go down there. How long's the surgery?
So the surgery itself only took about an hour, but I had to stay down in South Carolina for about 2 weeks.
Right.
And just a really quick God story.
Yeah.
We were super freaking out because it's not like that would be cheap.
Yeah.
And we had one of our friends acquaintances at the time, who had just moved down there and we didn't know about it. And she was like, "Hey, you can come stay with us for your entire,
No kidding.
every appointment you have, everything. You can come and stay with us."
Great.
So it was amazing. But so I was off for about 2 months from Beauty for Ashes.
That's it?
Yeah, that's how amazing the Lord is.
So what'd you do last week? Brain surgery. I've been back to work 2 months. I was bored. Nothing to do. Are you for real?
Dead serious.
Wow, because that's like in the middle part of your brain.
Yeah. And so the surgery went flawless. They said that just how my symptoms completely dissipated. It's one of the best success stories that they have ever
No
had.
kidding. So it just like a light switch.
It's exactly it.
Wow.
So they go in and they actually remove the entire gland. So, yeah.
So how do you deal with like the all the symptoms from your blood and all that?
I don't know. I trust
It just
what
works.
they said and it all works.
He's the doctor and you did it.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary story.
Yeah.
So 2 months, you come back. Was there any physical side effects like weakness, fatigue, mental fog?
Some mental fog because, I mean, it's not like a sprained ankle that can heal up in a few weeks, right? It's your brain.
Yeah.
And so it took several months, about 6 months for my brain to officially be like, okay, we're good. We can keep going.
Yeah.
Like when I first started, I could only work for a few hours at a time.
And you have to go be done today.
Yeah, and it was crazy because it's not necessarily pain. It's just
It's
exhaustion.
fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like someone asked me about it and I was like, it's like you sleep for 10 hours and you get up and your battery's at 25%.
Yeah,
And then you only got 25%. It's like that.
Yeah.
Man, dude,
And
I'm
so-
sorry you know what that like.
But you know what? Now it's incredible. I wake up fully energized. I wake up and I'm like, wow, I feel like I have a superpower now that I can remember people's
Because you got
names.
normal cognitive function. You're like, I am amazing.
That's exactly it. And so
That's awesome.
God has just utilized this time so much because now being back at the center, I feel like I can focus a little bit more.
Because you can.
Right. And so it's just been this wild ride. And so Brandy and I were talking about how we needed to get more connected with other ministries and different parts of the community. And so we said, hey, let's get more connected with the jail. We have girls being released who are in this in-between. And we need to figure out what we can do here. And she ends up saying to me a week later, she calls me up. So I just got offered the position as the women's chaplain at the jail. And I was like, are you joking me right now? God, this is not what I meant.
Yeah.
But you know what? Either way, she is there and she's fantastic. And we have a new assistant director. Her name is Christina Tipton. And we
had her on our show.
She's fabulous.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, thank you so much for coming on the show. We are officially out of time. Please go to beautyforashesmi.com.
.org.
Sorry. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time. Do you have a nonprofit in your area that's doing a lot of work that people should know about? Feel free to contact Spiritual Warfare Unit at 810-715-9319, and we would love to have them on to see what good they're doing in the community and find out their story. Thank you so much.
Spent so much time believing the lies. I knew I wasn't meant to live this way. But my walls came down when your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way.